Hey everybody, this video is about one of the myths, and there's a lot of them out there, or rumors that are spread by different companies, manufacturers over the last 30 years. And this particular rumor is the myth of that high-powered devices, high-powered lasers, can damage or harm a person. They can burn a person. And this rumor actually started about 25 years ago, more or less. When Class 4s started to enter the market. It was Class 3s and lower initially had the whole market locked up. They're making lots of money. Class 4s came in. Now granted, a good competitive Class 3 company and manufacturer might propagate certain information to try to keep out or put down in public eye these Class 4 companies. And that's exactly what they did. So back then a lot of erroneous, misleading information was created that still perpetuates up till today. You'll still see, especially on the internet, all over the place. And literally coming out of the mouths of different sales reps you'll talk to when you talk to Class 3 companies. And so this myth about burning a patient, I'll clear this up very, very quickly. Number one, whenever you hear a claim or something that's stated like a claim, just because they doesn't sound all official like, everything that comes out of the mouth of, and even in marketing material, is a good marketing person will tailor that language to make it sound like a claim, to give it some legitimacy. And you always have to ask the question, where in the research? Number one question you always ask, or as a rebuttal, where in the research does it say that? What studies? Where are you getting that information from? Those, if you're just armed with those questions, honestly, you probably won't get a lot of those hook, line, and sinkers. You won't be misled, probably about 90% less. Just ask those questions always, all the time, to anybody you're talking to. All the time. Anything that comes out of their mouth. Anything. And probably won't have an issue. Probably won't get fooled into buying something that isn't what it appears to be. So burning patients. I have personally yet to find anything that proves such a thing. I will say this. In general, Class 4 or just higher power devices are definitely a lot higher power than a lot of Class 3s. And sure, it is possible to damage tissue. But you're forgetting one thing, is that Class 4s are not used just like Class 3s are used. So if you use a Class 4 like they guide you in a Class 3, which is when you use a Class 3, you don't always have to use it this way, but it's generally recommended that you push it into the actual area being treated, and that's advantageous to get the penetration of the laser in quicker because it moves the blood out of the way of the beam. Now if you try to do something with a significantly higher powered device, that could be an issue depending on how long you leave it there. It's usually with a Class 4, if you follow training, okay, so this is the key here, you follow the manual, you follow training, and you pay attention to what you're doing, pay attention, you're supposed to paint over the area like a spray can. You move the beam over the area you're treating. Always moving. Sometimes you're moving quickly, sometimes you're just moving slowly. And usually always keep it a certain distance away. It's not super far away, but it's about half an inch, an inch. It just depends on kind of what the condition is, what area of the body, what kind of tissues are involved. Treating a knuckle, for example, it's very near the surface, very different than some deep hip or trying to get into a herniated disc, very different. So you just kind of adjust the way you move it a little bit. Sometimes you adjust the power, but the point is, can it be dangerous? Can you damage? And as I said, outside of not necessarily seeing a lot of research to back up such a claim, the answer, I feel, is yes. If you deal with a high-powered device and you're not paying attention whatsoever to the patient and how they're responding, you're not following any training, you're not following the manual. So the example I give is you'd have to be completely not paying attention to the patient. Have your back like that, moving the laser, and the patient must also be kind of numb in the area, not have any feeling. Because what happens when you feel something that feels like it's burning, or even a pinprick, or something that's really cold? any kind of response. What? You have a reflex response. Your body moves away. It's very simple. Your body moves away. So the situation where the patient didn't move away was if they were, had some symptom where their nervous system was not conducting any feeling in the area. Maybe they had paralyzed area or just severely damaged nerve tissue. It's possible. And the practitioner was completely oblivious, completely. And so it's kind of the job, I guess you could say, of the company, the laser company, and the trainers to make sure that they do a good job and they do their piece. Ultimately, any sort of medical device, driving a car, whatever it is, anything that could potentially pose a risk, is the responsibility of the user. And so in general, if you're able to burn somebody with a really high-powered device, this is a pretty good sign that you probably shouldn't be using a laser, okay? It's generally not recommended. Or you need to seriously consider how that would even be possible and make tremendous efforts to make sure it doesn't happen. I will say this, though, is that when you're dealing with infrared, people think like burning is, they imagine something really horrific, right? When you're beaming a lot of infrared, a burn really shows up more like a sunburn, if anything, like from laying out in the sun, because the sun shines down infrared and a lot of other types of radiation, and UVB and things like that, okay? So it's not really as, it's not this terrible thing, but again, the incidence of this happening is, because all those specific conditions have to line up just right, is so rare. So rare. I mean, I personally, after so many years in the industry, have yet to actually directly talk to somebody who knew somebody where this happened. Okay? So it's just, and again, if it does happen, then that person probably has no responsibility and they shouldn't be using that particular device. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to clear that up a little bit. If anything, it's really just one of these rumors to really try to put down Class 4 companies and try to get people to get scared. It's a scare tactic, essentially. And there are other scare tactics in the industry, which I do cover. So just know that, and if you ever have any more concerns or questions about it, please reach out to me by email or phone. Thanks.